All right, that'll look we'll check in when you're done.
Depends on what you have for space.
Okay.
Patrick, I'm just gonna send one to give Larry a call. You're already recording, so you're good to go.
Okay. So, call this meeting to order at 9:01.
I'd like to improve the agenda.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Public comment. Be here for public comment or all, just to see what's going on.
So what's going on?
Okay.
Do you live in town? I live in Sharon. Oh, okay. Mhm.
There's big one zone layer too.
Oh, okay. But they don't. Is anyone here for public comment? You raise your hand. Virtually. Oh. Now we gotta figure out.
Oh, there is. No, we
Yeah.
took it away.
Oh.
Took it away.
Sam, did you have something to say?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. 1 minute, we're trying to, technical issues.
They're already in the room. so-
Yeah,
Yes,
they
I
just
think
need
they can.
to-
I think if you just unmute yourself, you should be able to go.
No, I'm all good, he says.
Oh, okay.
He's all good.
Okay, he's all good.
Okay,
Or she.
Or she,
or
yeah, I'm
he
sorry.
is all
Yeah.
good.
do you want to identify
That,
yourself?
that
Sam?
person, that person is all good.
Sound quality is not the greatest.
I think it's.
Oh, it's this darn owl down there. Do you remove it?
Oh, do you
It's
think-
not a big deal. It's.
Oh, what's the matter?
Sam is saying the sound quality is not the greatest. But I'm not sure if we can do anything about that.
Okay.
Did you buzz Larry?
I did. He's fixing a fence.
Okay,
He said he'll try to come down if he finishes up before about an hour.
okay, was he aware or was he not? Should have called him.
I know, something that.
Okay.
Life lesson.
Yeah, life lesson. All right, so, well, I'm not certain that we're gonna solve
No, but. we can get
everything today, but we
started.
can get the
Yeah,
discussion started
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Did not figure we'd solve everything today, so Larry will have another chance,
okay.
as will Bob. So, Nell did not get,
I wasn't here.
you weren't here, so I know you were not able to be involved in the discussion, and frankly, it wasn't just that, once I got the old job descriptions, I know it was last minute, I don't know if you got a chance to look at any of those from 2020
Mhm.
in the email. It really had not been as clear to me up until then, sort of the evolution of what Victoria is
Mhm. Yeah,
doing now
exactly.
and how that has, how it's.
Morphed.
How it has morphed. And so before I started in full bore on trying to create a job description that captures what she does
Yeah.
now, I wanted to be sure that that's what the direction we wanted to go. Because there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And we have discussed the possibility in the past of this job being different.
Yeah.
Or being more than one person.
Yeah.
Get something back. So I wanted to have that discussion before I spent more time going down a road
Right.
that we decided was the wrong one.
I thought one thing we might want to do is identify the things that are, that require bookkeeper training.
Require what?
Bookkeeper training.
Yeah.
And which ones are other, like, computer related, because I can step in and do security and that kind of thing if that's the route we want to go. And I certainly think that's a good idea to have more than one person trained for that anyway.
Yeah. But I was thinking. Are you talking more in the transition or are you talking like?
I trained
Moving
this
forward.
and then continue it on long term.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
if we get somebody who isn't qualified or doesn't understand computer security, then we can move ahead with assigning them certain tasks, but Anyway, it may not be one person that fills this position, I think is what,
Yes,
Yeah, and that's a big part of the discussion here.
yeah, and that's why I said to identify the things that we can,
Yeah,
categorize it.
but and in the transition is one thing, but I don't want us to get caught up in thinking, oh, well, you're able to fill some gaps or whatever, because you may be sick of this in a year or 2 years or whatever, and
Oh,
then,
exactly. Yeah.
and then that's not a long-term solution.
well, I think what we need to do is, and I should have done this when we approved the agenda, I keep doing this. We're doing job description and hiring today for 1 hour.
Yep.
We all want to stay on point. And then I think we need to have a meeting once a week, like during the daytime or something about Victoria and Victoria's.
Not about Victoria,
about-
we're done talking about
About the
Victoria.
transition.
Mhm.
And so it would be nice if we could get, and I know she's working on this already, but like a list of everything, all the projects that are up in there, and we all initial what we are going to be responsible for keeping our eyes on during the transition and to pass it over.
Mhm.
So I think like this needs to be the subject of this transition. We need to be meeting until she's gone. And through this transition frequently, often, as we look for new people. I know right now it's just about the job description and hiring, but I think there's so much.
Yep.
Going on that we should be doing another special meeting next week about who each of us and the interim, if we can't fill, like immediately fill her position, like, John Denville is offered to, like, if there's a time when
Yeah.
we don't have someone in here
Yeah.
to come in and answer phones
I
at certain
think,
times.
I think that needs to be addressed, but let's try to
Yes,
keep this
exactly. So,
right to this for today.
right.
So
Do we want to read those job descriptions?
did you have a chance to look at them at all? Because,
Very brief.
yeah, no, that's okay, and I understand it was very last minute and there's a lot in there.
I looked at them, but I didn't do a comparison to see what was on one and what was on the other, and I thought we were gonna get a merged copy or a merged version.
Well, before I did that, though, I wanted to
Yeah.
be sure that's really what we wanted to do, because
Okay.
it was, she's doing essentially like 1.5 or
You guys
more.
want, Patrick, do you want the 2020 job descriptions?
Brought up.
Brought up.
And then, or I can print them, and then you guys can make notes on them.
Sure.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have something
Print them.
physical in front of us, because the computer is.
Yeah, because one thing that struck me was that there are things in the town administrator job description. That's stuff that we have said, gee, it's too bad. We couldn't have Victoria or somebody like that do that stuff for us, like this day-to-day supervision and human resources stuff
Mhm,
on those
exactly,
guys.
yeah,
And that's actually in the job description. That was supposed to be the town administrator's job.
okay,
But when Victoria was hired as the finance director,
that was
and
not,
that was certainly not part of the job. And then when it got mashed up, when the town had,
uh-huh,
the history became clear to me too, that in 2020, there have been 2 people hired.
Yeah.
A town administrator / buildings and grounds
okay,
and a finance
yeah,
director.
I remember she talked about that, okay.
And then the town administrator left after, how long was she here, Victoria?
2 months.
2 months.
Months, yeah,
So at that point, they peeled off the buildings and grounds.
right,
And Walter took that over and they mashed up a lot of, but not all of, the town administrator's responsibilities into Victoria's position.
okay,
And so there are things like we've talked about, gee, wouldn't it be great to have a town manager instead of a town administrator, so we don't have to be talking about potholes on North Road during select board meetings.
mhm,
And also, so we don't have to scramble after every town meeting that we change the makeup of the select.
Yeah.
Right, so there's more continuity, and the fact is, that stuff's in the town administrator description. And, even if we don't have a town manager, we can delegate a whole ton of responsibility and duties to a town administrator.
If she's not doing all the other things that,
If she's not doing all the other,
Right.
he or she is not doing all the other things.
Okay.
We can delegate that,
Uh-huh.
assuming that person is capable and
right,
we
and
want
like,
them to do it.
and like you brought up before, the website, you need to deal with that if somebody comes on board.
Yeah.
A new person needs to like get our web page together, our town page together, which is part of administrator.
Yeah, so I mean, so those two jobs, those two people were hired for 40 hours and 32 hours.
40 and 32.
Yeah.
Okay. And, okay, I have a question.
Absolutely.
We have in the budget something for buildings and grounds. Didn't that get pushed through? That we have a
A full-time, but that's for somebody that Walter is supervising.
physically a
That's a
person, okay.
worker, labor.
And then, but also what about Rita's position? When we had extra funds in there for a second finance
We
person?
talked about that Tuesday.
Okay.
and
It's
there
not
are-
very much money.
Yeah.
There's, yes, it's a small amount of hours, it's part-time,
Okay,
and there's conflict of, not conflict of interest, separation of duties that has to be
defined.
adhered to.
Well, so.
But the fact
Victoria
is
does
that-
a lot of finance. She does her finance.
That's really what she was hired to do originally. So, having somebody, and like during the whole FEMA thing
Yeah.
with the disaster, I mean, that's what she was spending 90% of her time. Rightfully so,
And we
and-
need a second person to do.
and got the town, a couple $1 million,
Okay.
$2.5 million in FEMA reimbursements because she was able to do that.
Okay.
But there was a lot of stuff that she probably wasn't able to do during that time.
Okay.
On the other half of the job.
Okay.
So,
So let's like break it into two positions.
Well, I think you're jumping ahead.
well, not necessarily. I mean, that's part of the discussion is do we want to consider that? And I know, just so it's out there, Bob's position is no. Like he
Keep it one person to do everything.
keep it one person do everything, and he thinks the select board should be doing more. Which it is actually the opposite of what I feel, which is I think we're too deep in it already.
Well, I mean, we're here and he's not, so I mean,
No, but I just want all
Yeah, no, no, I'm
the
glad
opinions out there.
I'm glad you're.
And I told him I would make sure his point of view was
Okay, thank
expressed.
you.
Well, there's actually 3 positions that we have talked about, and that is
Okay.
select board assistant
Right,
Okay.
and town admin, which is what we have now. And the third one is town manager, which we have to go to the voters to say,
right.
can we do that? But if we
Well, there's-
look at all 3 options, we could more or less assign, who would go to, what roles would go to what position.
Right, and we could get to where we are with Victoria, which is a pseudo town manager, but even a little more than she's doing now in that realm. By delegating that authority, and that's perfectly acceptable for us to do. I mean, it's legal, it's okay, it's not, it's not overstepping any bounds. It's a matter of what we're comfortable with delegating. But I think actually there's 4 positions then, Stuart, because there's also the finance director, and the question becomes, do we want to separate, as this was envisioned in 2020, there was gonna be a separate finance director and a town administrator. And,
Well,
is that a good way to break up the responsibilities? Or do we want to do it different? Do we want to have a select board assistant who is not at the level of a town administrator, but picks up, does a lot of that legwork and does that stuff. And then we have a town administrator who is still more of a hybrid like Victoria, but has less on their plate in the day-to-day, so that this kind of thing and scheduling meetings and all that, it's not their job.
well, Patrick, can we, maybe take this opportunity to just ask Victoria her input on how her job would break down well, other than a town manager? I mean, I know.
When you say breakdown, well, do you mean like what
In her
percentage, or what
suggestion,
percentage of her time she spends on what? Or
I'm
no?
ask her
You can ask her whatever you want. She's leaving.
Do you think two people in your position would be a good idea?
Yes,
Do you think that we should have somebody? How would you break that down into two different people? If you yourself, if we could.
You're queen
if
for
we
the
could
day.
split you- If we could split
I
you up.
think it depends on what your goals and objectives are and also who's available on the market right now.
Yeah.
And because part of my job is that I am the person who's considered to be in responsible charge
Mhm.
of the town's finances, which means that I have a degree and the necessary experience to be able to provide the select board with the financial data and ensure that the records are being kept according to the law. So.
Very
it's-
important, by the way.
It's possible that you will find someone who has those qualifications and can also be your town admin, and that's fine. And then you could hire an assistant town admin who maybe doesn't have the finance stuff, but could be taught those things. Or you can split it into a select board assistant who's maybe gonna do, calling your meetings, taking your minutes, doing your project management. And then a finance person who would do, the grant writing, the grant management, the day-to-day finance stuff. If you're hiring a finance manager, you could probably get away with somebody part-time, but that's also harder to hire.
Yeah. When you were hired at 32 hours, did you consider that part-time?
That was technically part-time, but the reason that I was being hired at 32 hours and was able to take that was because I was still the admin for the
Oh.
fire district.
Yeah,
So
okay,
I had
You
8
had
hours of
something
work
else.
a week at the fire district, that would make up that full-time job.
fair enough. But those positions generally are a full-time position, the finance director. More or less, maybe, some, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's really market dependent.
What's the degree on that or the qualifications on that?
Accounting, business, some sort of finance related. Degree, public administration.
If you look,
Yeah,
you look at the finance administrator from 2020.
okay,
Associate's degree, at that point, we were looking for associate's degree or at least 5 years experience in bookkeeping, computerized accounting,
right, okay,
you know.
okay, and then,
But you know, there's also other, but that experience. Knowledge of intergovernmental relations, finance, accounting, and budgeting relating to municipal management is a slightly different skill set as well, so. It's accounting and bookkeeping, but with a particular
yes,
focus, so to speak, and some of these are redundancies.
okay,
Yeah, I gave you the 3
Yeah, that's fine,
different combos there.
yeah.
okay, okay.
And so the financial manager, there's a different description for a very similar position. But a degree in public administration, political science, or business management, and or a minimum 3 years experience in administrative or managerial capacity in either municipal government or business.
But there's no specific certifications that are on there.
Besides the degree and the experience, yeah. So if you're talking like a CPA or something, no.
And it's really not necessary to have a CPA. Because you hire professional independent auditors,
Okay,
there's no need to have it, I'm not a CPA.
but like in responsible charge of town's finance, that sounds pretty,
It's important.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have federal funds.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of other grants, you've agreed to all of those covenants. You have to know where the money is. And governmental accounting is different than business accounting. And it takes time, even if someone does have that experience, it still takes time to wrap your head around having 40 different funds and 12 major projects. It's a lot.
It And as I was saying, when you were out of the room, you know, during the floods and the whole FEMA thing. That was essentially your full-time job, as it should have been, but it means that there's a lot of things that you're either cramming in or doing too much and. You know,
Overburdened, yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Overburdened.
and yes, that's a special case and it's a crisis and all that, but still, I mean, that's.
But
the
we're still
important-
not finished up
But
with
the
that one.
important
I
part
said
of,
it's a completed project earlier this week, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so for 4762, you guys are done. You just have to get through the emergency relief assistance with the state, which is just providing the state all of the documentation and backup, which is already set up and ready to go. And then 4720, all of your work complete is signed. We're just waiting for the reimbursement on Gee Hill. And then you'll have to deal with Broadbrook landslide, yeah. And then your Cat Z, which is the administrative costs for that project. I have started all of the spreadsheets for those because you don't put Cat Z in until the end.
Did you get all that, Patrick? Because I did not. So,
We will talk heavily about FEMA with whoever is going to agree.
I can tell you what it sounded like to me, but
Yes.
it wasn't what she
Hey,
said.
Larry.
Hey,
Sorry.
Larry, hello. So
Sorry, I switched to Rob Suite so I can see everybody.
that's okay.
So,
Larry, I'm sorry, should have called you yesterday. I mean, I sent out an email, but.
I know, I
you-
try every day to look, but.
And I'm not,
yesterday I was
I-
way
you know,
busy.
I am in,
Yeah.
by no means putting it on you. It's as Stuart said, lesson learned, you know, in a case like this, we should give you a call to make sure that you're up to speed, because I don't always check my email.
no, I don't check every day
So-
either.
Anyway, I was,
So that's-
whatever, I don't get into it, but.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly okay. But I'm very glad you're able to make it. So we're trying to figure out, we're starting the conversation and to recap. You know, I started to look at the job descriptions and at what Victoria actually does, you know, trying to sort of begin this, rewriting the job description for us this time around. And talking to Victoria about the evolution of her job from 2020. And it just struck me that, you know, even when she was hired, the town had a very different idea in terms of who's doing what. And her job evolved in this mashup of both finance manager and town administrator and but not all of it or anything. And some of the stuff we've talked about the advantages of having a town manager or somebody with that kind of authority. I mean, to me, when I read the job description, it turns out, I think that's what the town was trying to do, was to have a town manager without calling it a town manager. It was delegating a lot of responsibility to that person, which is great. And I think would be beneficial. But that's missing in what Victoria does now, just because she doesn't have, I mean, she's already doing essentially a job and a half, and so even more doesn't make sense. So I wanted to start the conversation at least about, is this structured the right way? Do we want one person? Do we want two people? Do we want 1.5 people? Like, what's the right way? Because if we're gonna do something different now, it's the time to do it.
Right, yeah,
You know, if we rush just to fill a position, trying to get exactly what Victoria does, it means that's what we get. And maybe we don't get something else that we would actually prefer.
makes sense, you know. A position and a half, I think, with the responsibilities that she has, and I know over the years with me being involved with, you know. Chief. Selectboard, you know, assistants and stuff that we had over the years. Rose Eman took over a lot of the financial and the other things that where the treasurer did, and she took over that, and. So it's become more and more involved for one person to handle, so it might be good to. Divide out some of that, just, you know, for a person and a half. you know, the budget is the budget, but also the budget, in my opinion, is a suggestion. You try to do the most you can. When you're looking at a year and a half ahead of time,
Yeah,
things happen. and,
Absolutely.
We have to adjust. And that's where we are right now. So, anyway, I'll be quiet.
no, your perspective is great because you've seen more of this evolution than we have, so. Being able to talk about that can be really helpful.
Mhm, mhm.
Cause were you here in 2020? I can't remember
No,
now.
19 was the last year.
Okay, I didn't think so, but, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so remembering
Well, I had
5
the
years
same
ago.
problem, but I just happened to have those two numbers. Available.
Did you talk about having this managed by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns? Did you guys think?
Briefly, we thought about it, I was going to reach out to get more specifics on that. I think the consensus, at least on Tuesday, was that we could probably handle it in-house. I mean, there's advantages to it. If we're gonna try to fill two positions, my opinion might change. It's a lot. It's a lot, but. There's also a balance between, I haven't talked, I looked briefly at the webpage, and so VLCT doesn't actually do it. They have a roster of consultants to steer you to, and the consultants do it. So that's
Not ideal.
not ideal, and also that process gives me a little pause just in terms of timing. If we had 6 months and we wanted to do this right, then I might say, yeah, that's a great idea, but
I know.
we're on a shorter time frame. So one big concern I have is if we bring in a consultant, how long is it gonna take them to get up to speed, to get this done, and so I haven't talked to the woman at VLCT, and I will do that, to see if she can provide insights about what that looks like.
Well, if we can identify these positions, possibly positions with an S. I mean, that's why I'm glad that we're doing something today, and
Mhm.
we've already eaten up
It's
half
okay,
an hour,
okay.
but like, if we can move this forward into posting this,
Yeah, time is of the essence, but I don't want us to be hasty.
Okay.
If we're inconvenienced and overburdened and overwhelmed for even, a while, a matter of months, but we get it right, I'll be happier. I'd rather do it right and do it once. If we rush into it, and then we either have buyer's remorse, or we make the wrong choice, and then we're back in this cycle in 2 months when somebody leaves. I mean, that's always a possibility, no matter what, right? It happens. But I think if
Yes,
the
this part
priority,
is
if the
done right.
priority becomes, we need to get this done in 6 weeks, as opposed to, we need to get it right, I'd rather get it right.
But you may have to compromise.
Absolutely.
I was thinking here, as you're speaking, and this is just me thinking, you guys can take that thought and throw it out the window, but I was thinking if we can identify what we feel is needed in positions, whether it be 1.5 or 2. And identify those not with total specifics, right?
Right.
Today,
Sure.
but enough so that you could put an ad out that would say, we're looking for these things and see what we get. In the meantime, you have an opportunity to fine tune what you need here and whatnot.
Right.
And that would speed things up. Because like you said, we're kind of against the the wall here and we don't want to hit the wall. We want to just be close to it and to stop the train from coming and getting her done.
That's a good idea. And I agree, because we might find someone who fits the niche, like if we do what Larry says. He or she might be like, okay, this person can do all these things. Now, what do we need in that
Exactly.
other person?
Exactly. Or somebody may walk through the door that has 90% of what we want, and so, like you say, it shifts. Maybe we think we were looking for two people, and we end up looking for 1.5, because we've got somebody who actually can do 90% of what we want, and all we have to do is peel off the rest. For that second position, so.
I think that's a good goal. Maybe we should work towards that right now.
You know, I think, you know, you kind of identify the three or so, or two things that you need. And you focus on that and get the feelers out there. And then, you know, as some of the, people bring in their employment, applications and see what they say. But in the meantime, you've got a chance to, you know, fine tune what you're looking for, and that way it just speeds things up. If you wait till you get this all finalized, and then you put the ad out, and then you wait till they come in, you know, you've lost a couple of weeks. And, you know, like I said, we don't wanna waste time, but we also don't wanna, you know, be so fast and we get in a mess, but I think this would be a good compromise.
I like that idea. I like that idea. What do you think, Stuart?
I've seen the state do this where they advertise multiple positions. And they're only hiring the right person, but they've got them all out there in case somebody fits this description or they fit that description. They can still fit the job, but it depends where, you know, what it is. I mean, it looks like this. We got different titles that we're looking for. And, you know, we may get applicants for each of them, or we may get an applicant for only one of them, and that's maybe what we have to go with. Is, you know, as we said, we don't know what we're gonna get for responses.
So do you like that idea or do you not? Is that good? Or is that?
I think it works.
Okay.
Because there's too many unknowns right now. We don't know what we're gonna find.
Okay,
And we have to keep our options open.
okay, yeah,
The sooner we can get it out there to the public and see what that draws in. That's a good start, but that gives us a little time to fine tune the job descriptions.
So. What I think I'm hearing is that we wanna advertise potentially for two positions then. Right? And break it down sort of the way that it was broken down in 2020, like one finance oriented, one administration oriented. And see what comes through the door, and if we get somebody that has.
But it could be combined, it could be
If we have
combined.
somebody who has a lovely mix of those. Then we can move towards that and backfill. You know, maybe with a part-time position. For what's missing. Is that what we're saying?
So what's the crisis that we're trying to solve? Or what position do we absolutely have to have?
Well, I think that my personal feeling, it would be a select board or administrative assistant. I think the financial end, we could, you know, manage to get through that without somebody for a month. But I think the select board assistant and the administrator, I think, are the most important part of that, my opinion.
because then they could help find someone who is,
Well, right,
qualified.
but I mean, the day-to-day things that Victoria does, the financial person wouldn't, if she just financial, wouldn't be involved in that.
Right,
I don't believe, or that wasn't her forte and what she was hired for. But my opinion.
I would encourage you to hire the finance person first.
You would?
Yes,
There's a lot more to it than I know about.
it's bank account reconciliation. It's providing the select board with all of your financial reports as to your actuals to budget. Your fiscal year end is coming at you quickly. Fiscal year end is June 30th. The town requires a single audit this year because of the amount of federal funding that you've had come in. you want a finance person before you want an admin person. It will be far easier for the select board to cover the administrative needs than it will be for the select board to try to complete your grant reports. Broadbrook Bridge is almost done. You have a grant for that. North Road is gonna be starting in 2 weeks. You have a grant for that. Chelsea Street Sidewalk Project is ongoing. That's federal grant money. The law school, we just got notification that it looks like they're going to award that grant. And
Award would,
for the 10 study,
Thermal heat
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
yeah,
So I think the finance person first, because it's easier for somebody else to help you with the administrative than it is for somebody to pick up the finance, because like personally, I would also put your finance in as like when you're hiring somebody, you know, you're doing the benefits, you're dealing with the paycheck withholdings, everybody's earned time, all of that sort of thing that also directly impacts your employees.
What did you mean by single audit as opposed to what?
A single audit is a requirement from the federal government, so they look much more closely at what your expenditures were of those federal funds. So they look more significantly at your books than they might on a normal year, specifically related to those federal funds.
so what's the alternative to a single audit? What would the other,
Just an annual audit. It's just
Just-
what they call it.
Oh, okay.
It's a single audit requirement for the federal government.
Now, do you consider the financial part of this job as a total one-person job, or is it a half-person job?
I think most of the time half.
Okay,
I think most of the time half, depending on, you know, how many grants you have. And how much of the work is gonna fall into that role. If you figure, you know, bank account reconciliation, financial planning for the transfer station. You know, because we watched their business plan, you've got your wastewater treatment. That's, you know, reported on twice a year that we keep an eye on, your bank reconciliation and then your grant stuff. Right now, you guys have a lot of grants. When you don't have so many grants, like, I think it would be difficult to make your finance person full-time
Mhm.
unless they were also taking on some other more administrative type duties. But again, those two things don't necessarily go together. You're not necessarily going to find a finance person that's also going to do the project management
or
portion.
has the administrative experience?
Right.
Yeah,
Is there anyone here that could do some of the administrative tasks like not the finance part, but
like
Personnel
project
stuff.
management.
I was thinking, other,
Personnel
you're
stuff.
speaking about in-house.
yeah, already. They're here already that can do it.
I think Rita could do some of it if she was willing to, as far as. You know, like signing people up for benefits and setting up their withholding and stuff, a lot of that is just spreadsheets.
That's
Similarly, the Deemer's reporting, but Rita cannot reconcile your bank accounts because that's part of your internal control. Because Rita signs the checks, she does not reconcile the bank accounts.
Right.
So there are some things that Rita could potentially do if she was willing to. But then there's other things that she should not do to maintain your internal controls.
I'm just looking right now at Bethel and, you know, surrounding areas. Do they have a part-time financial clerk? And what if we talk to people who are already local, existing in that exact position and say, are you looking for more hours? Like, would you like to come in and interview for this? We need somebody. I don't know.
Somebody's looking for one. Can't remember where it is, but it's not very far away.
Yeah, I think once you advertise the people who are looking for that.
Yeah,
it'll-
We'll
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
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 Okay. I was just looking at the breakdown of what they do in other towns close by to see if, you know, they break apart the, it's kind of confusing to me that the town treasurer, that those have to be two separate things,
Right.
even though they're both money, you know, in my head.
Right.
So it sounds like, why don't we try to identify the most important aspects of a financial person for this town? And then also two separate things, financial and admin. And we put out and we try to get something out on Monday. Like that would be or we try to really write something up right now. And get it out ASAP.
I don't think we're gonna get two job descriptions written up in.
No, I don't
18
think so,
minutes.
but we can get some bullet points.
Mhm.
And it
Absolutely.
doesn't, like Larry said, it does not have to be tight, right? Like that's what I'm thinking, because
Right, it's gotta be tight enough to make people wanna apply for the job though, because if you make it too big, then. You will spend a lot of time wading through. Not what you want.
And don't forget, you guys could also vote one or two people to do that under the select board's direction, say, you know, what we want is a job advertisement for these two roles. You go ahead and do it. You don't have to necessarily all write
Be
the
together.
advertisement. You would want the full board to approve the final job description.
Right,
But just to put out the advertisement, if you kind of know what you're aiming at, you could just have a board member or two get the advertisement together and put it out.
oh. Without a detailed job description.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to lead up to.
Oh, okay,
You know, and so you could get the process started, and that'd give you time enough to fine tune the job description.
well, I'm glad you're here as Larry's translator, because I missed. I missed that important subtlety there.
And I apologize for not presenting it correctly.
No, I think it's just as much on my ears, Larry, as it is on your words.
You know what
So,
you know what the date of this, one that says town administrator, financial manager, is that before these others?
I
No.
believe that one was a 2019. I think
Yeah, they're all in
they were all like
very close.
So when Rose always had the board refer to her as the select board assistant / finance manager. So to the best of my knowledge, that town admin / finance director is Rose's job description. And then when Rose left, or perhaps even before Rose left, there had been some talk about hiring another person, a buildings and grounds person. So when Rose departed, the decision was made to do a finance manager and a buildings and grounds admin as a split. And it just didn't work out. And then it was the pandemic, so here we are.
Finance administrator has less qualifications. It's associate's degree and
Yeah, I mean, and I think an associate's degree is fine. There's not necessarily anything wrong with having an associate's degree as long as it's applicable. You know, if you've got an associate's degree plus experience, you're in pretty good shape. I was in progress on a degree when I started here, but I had, you know, a few years of experience.
financial specialist, they're looking for someone in Woodstock.
So,
So the municipality of Royalton is actively seeking,
so we could go with. A wording or an ad that draws on wording. Mainly from sort of the finance administrator
Mhm.
while we finalize. The job description, Because that, as Stuart said, that seems to have some lower hurdles in terms of experience and what they got. Which sounds like more where we're headed. And then we could, at the same time, run an ad for a town administrator, or we want to choose a different title.
What are we calling the financial administrator?
Sure.
What do we want? And then let's do the administrator. Let's like think about financial administrator. Or financial director, administrator.
I mean, the duties and responsibilities that it lists here captures mainly what Victoria's talking about.
Okay, well, but let's let's try to see as putting it in a job post that's very like, we're gonna have a blurb. Very, so what are the key points that this is too much, obviously, you don't post all this, so what are those? Highlight monthly account reconciliations. So that's a key one, right?
Prepare budget and expenses.
Prepare budget and expenses.
Reports or, and grant writing. that should
Yeah,
also
grant
be-
writing or grant administrating.
Experience with grant
Yeah,
writing,
yeah.
experience with grant writing.
You know, grant writing and management.
With grant writing and management. Grant writing and management. Background. Management. Finance background, I mean, that goes without saying,
Yeah,
but
I think the things that we don't need are like the audit work, that's gonna be in the job description.
right, and they might have that experience,
You
but
don't
they,
need that in
we
the ad.
don't need it because someone comes in to do auditing.
Yeah, you don't want to muddy the waters too much until you get.
Yes,
applicants.
they do come in to do auditing for you, but you still have to be,
Experience in that.
well, at
knowledgeable.
least capable of providing what they're looking for, which for the most part is fine.
So should we say
No.
annual audit work or?
No,
not?
my point was that
Don't muddy the water. In other words,
You
don't
need
say
to-
too much.
you need to take out some of the words.
Yeah.
So, you can take some of those out.
Okay, prepare budget and expenses, that's key, right? Experience with grant writing and management, financial background, I mean, like. What are the,
Finance will give them an idea what they're in for.
right, you're dealing with money and like, working knowledge of. You know, what kind of computer stuff do they have to like know, you know, like working knowledge of what kind of.
I mean, it's
Office.
2025.
I mean, I just didn't know if there was specific budget, like
No,
programs that are
I think we use,
essential to
we
their.
have accounting software, we use Excel.
Yeah, it's gonna be
as Power
spreadsheets
BI,
and, yeah,
But all of that is like, if you're applying for a finance job and you don't know how to do those, you have no business applying for a finance job, quite frankly.
And anytime you list a specific program, it's something that people either get trained in it, if they don't have the experience for it, they might not apply for.
Software is the easy part.
Yeah, they can learn.
and they're gonna tell you that in their resume, and
Mhm.
they're gonna say, work with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Doing ABC.
But were we doing, are they doing billing? That's treasurer does like billing and,
The treasurer creates the
Reconciliation.
bills in E-Tech. I am the one who calculates the billing rates and also propose the rates for the transfer station based on their business needs.
so. 3 to 5 years of relevant experience,
Yes,
How about administration?
3 to 5 years. of relevant
Insurance and
experience.
benefits, insurance policies and benefits.
yep,
What's up?
Administration of insurance policies and benefits.
Oh, right, that's
Yeah,
administration of, well, do we need to write that in the job description now?
Well, so we're trying to,
yes,
Figure
but
out,
you
figure
also
stuff
would
out.
want, so you wanna put enough in your advertisement so that people know what they're applying for, right? So that they can look at it and say like, yes, I can check those boxes. And then you absolutely do need a complete job description at some point. So that somebody
They
who's
can
looking
refer.
for a job can really look at it and say, yes, okay, and then decide if what you're offering for pay is reasonable compared to what you're asking them for labor.
And we should post that, right, on on the website so that
Yes.
they can
They can
research it.
go
Yes.
to the Town of Royalton website and be
Right.
like,
But you
click.
don't need it in the newspaper.
But for now, you can post your advertisement that says, you know, we're
Yeah.
looking for someone with these skills, complete job description to follow.
I mean,
And then people who are interested can send their resume and cover letter.
um. The Town of Royalton is actively seeking a financial administrator. Experience with grant writing and management. Prepare a budget and expenses. Monthly administration of, what was that Stuart said of? Of.
Insurance.
Benefits,
Benefits,
insurance,
Benefits, insurance.
insurance. And benefits and payroll
Read it as payroll.
Read it this way.
and benefits. 3 to 5 years experience.
What about just backing up here on your, budget? I kind of like the word help prepare. I mean, she doesn't require, they aren't required to do the whole budget, but they could use, could be.
Assist. Assist in preparing budgets
Yeah,
and
I
expenses.
think. That'd be a better term, in my
Okay.
opinion. If they thought they had the whole responsibility of doing the whole thing, that, you know, use the word help, then.
um,
Yeah.
I mean, I just read the notes that I took, the Town of Royalton is actively seeking a financial administrator. 3 to 5 years of relevant experience. Monthly administration of insurance and benefits, assist in preparing budgets and expenses, experience with grant writing and management. We don't even need to say a finance background, because that's what it is.
Shouldn't we say whether it's full-time or part-time?
Part-time with benefits, part-time with benefits.
Thought it was gonna be full-time.
I think,
I think what Victoria was saying is that, at least in the breakdown of what she does, that the financial part, if it's just the financial part, it is mostly a part-time job.
The reason I'm worried about that is some people won't apply for part-time jobs.
part-time,
With the possibility of being full-time,
part-time,
no,
but yeah, no, I think that's good, well,
depending on the qualification, depending on the qualification.
yeah, could we say something like? I don't know.
I agree with you, I said. About the part-time thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of these folks already got jobs and.
Part-time, but the right candidate,
Full-time.
Willing to take other capable of other town administrative needs, could,
Part-time or full-time for the right candidate.
okay, that
So,
sounds,
yeah, I guess keep it,
part-time or full-time for the right candidate.
Yeah, that's what I like that.
I mean, yeah, really simple, big, but like Patrick said, we don't wanna just weed out 1 million people. So what
I think that sounds pretty good.
I think that's fine.
That's what you have there.
I think that'd be an enticing thing for anybody that's looking to do something different.
But it has enough of the like hardcore stuff, like I wouldn't go applying for that job because I don't have the, you know. I
You don't have 3 to 5 years.
I don't have 3 to
Right.
5 years of experience dealing with preparing budgets and expenses. It has enough. Victoria, anything else that you could say to this that,
I think that's fine for an initial advertisement.
and then we
Um,
work on a full write-up?
Yeah, except that you might add something that says like associate's degree or 3 to 5 years of experience.
What about,
Yeah, that would be better, I think.
Just
Not everybody would
associates?
have 3 to
You'd
5
be
years.
okay with an associate's in a relevant
So
field.
if it's the right person.
what
Right.
about work environment? Do we need to say that it's in office or, remote possibilities, or, I mean, I know you don't wanna hire someone
Associates
remote.
or 3 to
for
5 years
fresh
relevant
off the boat, but,
experience. How about we don't say anything about that?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that way at least you get your fishing out there and you
Yeah.
get something, and then once you got something, you could.
Because again,
you
again,
could
with
Be
the,
flexible perhaps.
again, with the flexibility, if you get somebody who's really the right person, but wants to be remote. You know,
At some
most
time.
of the time, like, well, yeah, obviously, I think initially, most people are gonna expect they have to be around
On town officers for sure.
to learn, but.
Yeah, but I think that's,
Salary
that's
pay-
something that people are really, focused on these days. is
Yep.
Whether they are in office or not. But yeah, we can just have it prepared to answer the question.
Or you could put in the advertisement that in-office work is required, like on-site work is required. To make it clear that it's not a full.
Fully, not gonna be fully remote. Did you catch that, Neil?
No,
On, maybe just the notation on-site work is required.
but why do we need to write that?
Because if somebody is only looking for a fully remote job, that's probably not who we want.
You're gonna get people calling from Florida and saying, you know,
Yeah, I get you, real short. Yeah, I think that is good. Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah, we want somebody, even if it ends up being somebody that is able to work mostly remote, we don't want them to be in Colorado.
No,
okay, so this, back to the job description, this does say, great customer service skills, which implies that you're gonna be the face of the town with contact with people.
We don't need to say that.
Not in the ad, I'm just saying,
Right.
well, but that is something that we need
The
to be aware of.
for the financial specialist?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
no,
No, we can be.
oh, right, that would be
It
for
can
the
be-
town administrator. That would be important. Okay, forget what I said.
Well, no, that's in the finance administrator.
It is, but it says great customer service skills, and I was thinking of maybe that needs to be more of,
Review.
customer response, interaction. Not just customers, but.
Yeah.
Contractors and all that.
On a rolling basis. Okay, how about on-site work required, review of applications will occur on a rolling basis.
Yeah, or you say.
Or position open
until filled.
fulfilled.
This recruitment will remain open until filled. Contact Patrick, or email, or is that, would we do that? Would we have you be our contact if you were?
I'm happy to be the
Contact.
contact, but,
You can
Email.
also make it the town admin,
to town admin.
because I can have
Yes, you.
I can have all access. Line copy or CC the select board once I'm
Yeah.
done here.
that
Okay,
would be great.
Yeah,
So,
that
so then
works.
at that point,
Yeah.
you guys would get anything
Yeah,
that shows
we
up in
can
my
look it over and
inbox,
have an idea.
if you don't have somebody.
Contact Victoria,
Yeah.
contact Victoria,
Town
Yep.
admin.
Town admin,
town admin.
At Royalton BT.
and like if anyone leaves a voicemail in my office, it goes to email automatically.
Oh,
So
okay.
You guys will
So
have,
that's easy for you to then disperse.
you guys will have everything, yeah.
And it's not so easy for us to get it, but
That's okay.
That took me a while.
Alright,
could we clean this up and then we could, I mean, I feel like this could almost be ready to put, we could have Victoria put it, post it. We could post it today if we like this.
I think it's fine.
Do we wanna just go like clean this up a little bit?
If you wanna give me what you got, I can.
And then
clean
you
it up
can
for you.
make it
That's
pretty?
fine.
Okay,
yeah,
so the town of Royalton is actively seeking a financial administrator. Monthly administration of insurance and benefits, assist preparing budget and expenses, experience with grant writing and management. Associates or 3 to 5 years relevant experience required. This is part-time or full-time for the right candidate. The salary is based on experience and range starts at,
let's not
We
get
need
into that
not
yet.
Let's leave it empty.
okay?
I mean,
On-site work.
When we do up the full
Okay.
job description, then we can have that conversation.
On-site work required, review of applications will occur on a rolling basis. This recruitment will remain open until filled. Contact town admin at Royalton, Vermont. What else do we need, Victoria, in there?
Are you,
Is that
I think that sounds fine.
Yeah. I like it.
Have you got any questions at this point?
No, that's what I came to hear about was the role.
Oh, do
Okay.
you wanna apply?
My town clerk sent me over here to apply. Yeah, starter. But it's good to hear about what's the responsibility. That's what I wanted to learn.
Okay.
What's the responsibility? Like she was saying, there's a lot, it all kind of mashed together. So
Yeah,
I probably am, depending on what the roles are, I'm gonna throw my in for one of them.
Well, you don't have to answer that. I was
Yeah,
just,
but that is it.
Oh,
I'm transparent.
yeah, that's nice. That's cool that you,
Yeah.
showed up to listen to us hash this out. You get a real idea of the, you might be like, no way.
well, it's
I
also
didn't have
nice,
an
you,
excuse to get out of the door yet.
well,
Yeah.
right, but hey, it's also a great opportunity to see what kind of knuckleheads am I going to be working with.
That's what I'm saying. She hasn't
Yeah, I'm
left yet.
interviewing you right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works.
How we doing?
Oh, I stayed, like I was just telling her stuff. No, I actually, could I provide some feedback on what you, I think this is a
Absolutely.
great brainstorm.
well, we-
Asking Victoria, because she knows firsthand, right, what's the responsibilities. And then you're gonna be bringing on a new team member so that, you know, it's hard to ask somebody to do something that you don't know what you're asking them to do. So I think this was a great brainstorm. And then, obviously everyone's work complements each other, right? And then at the end, it complements our community out there. So I think it's thoughtful to go through this process. So that's just me, whether, I'm not saying to be a great candidate, I'm just saying that as somebody that's listening, and I think this is a good exercise to do, yeah.
well, we're hoping that, we can find somebody to actually,
You're never gonna
Victoria.
find Victoria. again.
no, we're not going to train them though, because if we train them, it's not gonna end well.
You're right.
It's gonna end. Not well.
There'll be 2 openings. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, I think we should start there. I think we did really good to be like, it's 10:05, and I think we
Yeah.
have one position that's,
Right,
we can hand to Victoria to clean up and do her magic. And put some special, maybe Victoria can draw in another person, like kind of on her part.
so now, next steps. Do we want to do a little bit of this on our own now that we have physically the town administrator description in front of us?
Job posting, right?
Do we want to like work on it over the weekend or whatever? And then come back and do this again next week for that position?
I think we should
Yeah, I would think so.
flesh this out, you mean, to bring it to, so it can be posted, the full
That's
description.
the financial administrator.
That's the finance,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about, so that's step one on the finance administrator. Have a look at the job description for the finance administrator and see what you think about the existing, the one from 2019 or 2020. But also the town administrator, so the next job, do
Okay.
this same thing next week, with us all sitting around and come up with.
We also have to do part B of this work too, right? Like, this isn't the final,
Right,
We
that's
need
what I'm
more.
saying. Look at part B,
okay,
but also part A for the town administrator. So that we can get that out next week while we're finishing up the finance job description.
Mhm.
So that when people actually ask for it, or we wanna post it next week, that we have it.
You're not gonna go for both advertisements in one meeting, Patrick?
No, we're at our.
I know, but if you've got the finance, then the town administrator is pretty much left with open meeting compliance, research on behalf of the select board. And, direction of town
You're
projects.
blowing my schedule up.
Well, listen, the agenda times are approximate.
Always
Kind of like
subject,
the budget.
always subject, to-
She just
Dude.
summed it
You
up.
can fire me if you
Yeah,
like.
she just summed it up.
not a chance.
Ken, you just wrote what you just said?
Is that fine?
I
Does
think
that
that-
work for you?
Well,
guys?
you can always write it.
Type something up that says like,
You'll look at it.
we
next
also
week.
need this. Can we say that, like Patrick or Nell can say that that advertisement is fine? And I can take care of it?
Yeah, so,
Are you worried about that, Patrick? You wanna do more?
no, I'm okay. I wanna make sure we have enough in there. I don't want it to be too thin,
Okay.
because my thought is still, I would like to make the town administrator have more of that delegation and authority. I want them to be closer to a town manager
Well, we can,
than a select board assistant.
we can authorize that or assign them.
But you don't wanna have this pouring in of
I don't want
applicants that are.
I don't want people applying for what appears to be a select board assistant job when really I'm looking for a town administrator.
I hear you.
Okay, is that the consensus of the board?
Sure.
That you
I'm-
you wanna be able to delegate?
I wanna be able to
personnel management
delegate. Yes, that
down
is,
To your town admin.
yes.
I can put that in an ad and I will send it to Patrick and Patrick will say if it's okay.
Send it to Patrick and Nell.
Is that a motion?
Is that for today?
Yeah, I can do that today.
So that we can,
And then you can post both on a Friday before people go home for the weekend and start looking at what's out there for jobs.
Exactly.
For the
I
Are you
weekend.
okay with that? Do you wanna be there in
Can I-
that loop
can
instead of me?
can Stuart be,
No, I think.
no,
it's
can
fine.
Stuart be me, because I have to go to work and, I'm like the rest of my afternoon, I just don't know if I'll look at an email again tonight, this afternoon.
Well, you could send it to all of us and then only the ones that you wanna do the,
But if you're gonna get it in this afternoon, you gotta have some sort of yay or nay.
Or-
Based
yeah,
on
well, we're.
somebody's
we're gonna defer to
approval,
Patrick.
whoever approves.
Okay, send it to me.
And you can send it to.
If Patrick likes the look of it, approve
We'll
it, and we
authorize
authorize him
it.
to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that Patrick approve Victoria's job description for a financial specialist and a town administrator to be posted this afternoon by the end of the workday.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I guess further discussion would be Patrick will be our, or no, Victoria, we already said Victoria, town
Yeah.
administrator is gonna be our contact.
Yeah.
And then it'll be a rolling, well, same thing,
Yeah.
rolling.
Open and
Open
fulfilled.
fulfilled.
Where do you intend, or where do you
That's
suggest
the-
that it get
yeah.
posted?
VLCT, gov jobs, Indeed.
Local, any locals
You wanna put it in the Herald next week?
in the Valley News?
Valley News, I would
Valley
think.
News,
Standard.
standard?
Yeah, the standard even, yeah, and which
And
side?
Woodstock?
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
I mean, the
right?
digital ones we can do today, the
Going
others,
to incur cost for the Valley News. I don't know about the standard. Is that fine?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
usually
That's
what
not-
people do is.
it's not our money we're spending.
You don't put the ad in to run every day for the week, you put it in for Thursday, because that's the day that the ads usually come out.
So it
Well, you
won't
might
even
want
go
something
out
in the
till,
Valley News though, for this weekend, I would think, but to Herald.
No, but that's what I
The
was
Herald,
saying,
yeah.
is the Thursday Valley News is the job issue.
oh, really? Okay.
If
But
you're
doesn't
looking
the-
for work.
Doesn't the select board have their own, budget for expenses?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there's an advertising budget. I just
Sure.
wanted to put it out there that they do charge for that and
Right.
make sure that you're aware that
Oh,
they
yeah,
charge for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, the VLTs,
VLCT
that'll be the
and
big ones,
Indeed, yeah.
because that's where people who are in municipal work.
Yeah.
The people who are looking.
Sure,
for this
highest
type of work,
likelihood of poaching.
Of getting. Victoria knows. Okay, what about, what was the other thing? Oh, what about putting this on our own town website.
Yeah.
Job opportunities.
Yeah.
And then we will have to, by next week, have a more fleshed out,
Have full job description.
Do we
yeah.
have a job openings page?
that's what yeah, job openings.
I
page
don't know
on
if
our
there is or
website.
not. If there's not, I can make one.
Yeah,
Okay.
job opportunities.
Just call it an RFP. I
So
definitely have space for those.
next, do you need this or you already have what I wrote?
You wanna make it easy to find?
I'll take your notes.
Okay,
Thank you.
what about? When are we meeting next week?
Well, on Tuesday, we had projected a Wednesday special meeting. Is that too late for you? You seem to have a great sense of urgency, which I will bow to, because I think it's not inappropriate.
I thought the Wednesday was the one that
We just did,
just happened.
yeah, but he's saying, should we?
Oh, no,
No.
no, on Tuesday.
You guys had thought about a Wednesday morning special meeting to do what you're doing now,
Right.
but also job descriptions. So do you wanna meet Wednesday morning next week to do job descriptions?
Yeah, let's keep it weekly and.
Yeah. And that
Until
also,
we-
that also
we don't
gives us,
do it
it also gives everybody enough time to look at the job descriptions, think about what we really
Adding to
want,
what we've created.
adding, editing, adding, deleting, rewriting, whatever, so we have time to actually flesh something out, and then we come to that meeting, everybody comes with something, at least ideas, if not something actually written about the job description, so that when we leave in that hour and 15 minutes,
Yeah, I like
we've
that.
got two fleshed out
Yeah,
job
exactly.
descriptions.
Um,
How's that sound?
Victoria, can you email all of us what we wrote, what we're gonna be putting in?
Yes.
For both of those advertisements, because then we can fully work on the job descriptions. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea, and we should maybe at that meeting, maybe make an agenda for the remaining month with Victoria of not only the job description, but then the actual
Figuring out how we're gonna deal with it.
fleshing out what the interim would look like, and assigning each of us projects that Victoria has. Oh, that's another thing. I know you were working on a project list of everything that you do. under
I
the sun.
handed you
Oh.
my work in progress Word document of
Oh.
all of the things. And
There's-
I am still going
Oh,
through that
Lordy, I
and
think that's
putting
interesting.
stuff
Yeah.
in as I go, so that you will have absolutely everything.
This
in
is
one Word
Victoria's
document.
workbook?
What is this AMUEI? Doesn't give any definition of what it is. It's an acronym.
That's the unique entity identifier through the federal government.
Oh, you didn't put a glossary in this too?
I know, it. We reasonably should hand that responsibility off to a board member, but we will talk about that, cause I'm gonna need a board member to have access to the FEMA grants portal. And we probably should give the entity authorization to a board member, because that is directly linked to my
Holy
identity. And it's a process, to be able to be authorized to manage the governmental entity. Cause it's a
Highway
login.gov.
activities.
I will have to delete mine before I leave.
I see, I'm looking at highway activities right now. Do you do, time?
Let's save that. for-
Patrick says it's 10:15, and I already sandbagged him.
Yeah. We don't wanna get dragged down in this yet. Review this at your leisure, and because this
And
is
if you
a
have
lot.
specific questions, email me.
Yeah.
Because I need to know what you guys need to know, because there's some stuff that
Yeah,
is just in my brain.
This is a lot.
that's why I don't wanna start picking at it right this moment, because
Mhm,
we'll
mhm,
get lost.
mhm.
And this has
Yeah.
been perhaps the most
Gonna be
productive
tough.
hour and 15 minutes we've had in a long time, so let's,
I think it has been productive. I'm proud of us.
let's take the win and quit while we're ahead.
Okay.
So
All right.
motion to adjourn. Patrick.
So moved.
Well, I am sitting in Bob's seat, so I'm kind of obligated to drag this out as possible. Speaking of which, Bob, I feel like I wish he could have an email, or how are we supposed to communicate with that fellow board member?
We're working.
They're working on it.
Okay,
It's still in process.
okay.
It's
Um,
difficult because he doesn't have
He doesn't have a cell phone,
No.
so he needs a separate device to be able to do
To access
the
it?
two-factor authentication for the email. I will nudge all access today and see where that's at.
Could, yeah. You
Yeah,
can't
because
call a landline,
Well, right, that's not two-factor. They can't send a
a code.
code to a landline for two-factor authentication.
That's what we're looking
Yeah,
What?
a fob.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So I'm sorry, did we say Wednesday?
We said Wednesday.
Can we do it early again, or what are we doing for timelines on Wednesday? What do we?
I will, I think mornings were, you have a Wednesday at
I
10
have a
issue.
10 o'clock, I
Okay.
cannot be here after, well, I have to be home by, 9:55.
Okay,
So,
Can we?
and
do
how
it
long,
8:30?
does that commitment last for you,
yeah, forever,
for the rest of the day?
no, for,
The rest
oh,
is
an
like-
hour.
An hour, so if we. From 10
Yeah.
That, and it's in that reality, I'm done forever, and then it's a separate reality, each week you have a reality bending, hey, so. Wednesdays, do you have later in the day issues, correct? Like the afternoon?
I just think we're so productive, I
Yeah.
think morning time would be,
If we could start at 8:30 and keep it to an hour, I would be fine with that.
Okay,
I mean, I
that
think
sound okay with you?
that,
All right,
I just do chores quicker.
you gotta do chores quicker, I will
you got animals?
reach out
I got
to
40
Bob
calves,
and
I just
make
like-
sure
I
that
just
works
don't
for him.
I'm getting the pasture ready for calves to go out without getting lost.
Yeah,
Putting gates up and waterers and
Fixing fences,
fixing fences and, well, the fence is in pretty good shape, but
yeah,
cleaning the stable and all that stuff. Want to get them out because they take 4 of them in there and you can't get at them all at once. So you've got to do this part and then go out this way, you do this one, go that way, you do this one. When they all run out together, we could just put all of them over this way and all the hay comes in this way and you can get it done in 20 minutes, but. We spent time and then put the gates up. I got to go back and get the water, outside water going.
just beef cows?
Yeah, and 4 nice little calves, little calves, gosh, they're great.
They're cute. Okay, so next week,
8:30.
Wednesday, 8:30, not 4:30.
That works.
All right, I think that's great, and then maybe we can let Bob know, see if he can be here.
yeah.
Well,
Oh,
you
program
got
the
his
time
phone
to
number?
call Bob,
You got his phone number, right?
I do,
Yeah, okay. I should have it too, I think.
you wanna give him a call?
I will.
All right, thank you.
He's full time back at the fairground now.
I know, yeah, that's why he's
Full-time?
not here today, yeah, so. But he was amenable, he gave me his thoughts and then he said he's fine with what the majority of the board goes with, cause
Okay.
he's good with that and trust most of us. He didn't mention names. No, he didn't say any of that.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a cell phone though.
He refuses to have a cell phone
I
and
didn't have a cell phone until 2 years ago.
really,
Yeah,
good for you.
yeah, well,
This life in the fast lane.
I guess. Yeah. So I understand not wanting one. I get it.
No,
think
I have told him, I really respect the Luddite stance.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish
Neo-Luddites, yeah.
Neo-Luddite, yeah, I wish I could. In my heart, I have that, but I can't. I just can't do it. So I do understand it and I applaud the principle.
Yeah.
But it's just, and I've even looked at, phones that have fewer functions and all.
Huh.
But, I'm like a teenage girl at the mall now with the tap to pay using my phone and
Yeah,
it's like I couldn't go
I
back.
was trying to
I
touch, I was
couldn't
trying
go
to
back.
touch somebody else's phone to get in contact, yeah. I thought
No,
we-
we adjourned.
No, you did not adjourn. You had half a motion to adjourn.
Oh, my God, adjourn.
Oh, all those in favor of adjourn, I thought we adjourned.
I did too.
Stuart moved, nobody seconded.
I second it. I second it.
Unσeconded.
I'm gonna
Oh.
second that and
All those in favor of adjourning,
5
say
minutes
aye.
ago.
Aye. Yeah, well, you know, there are a lot worse things.